He said it was a guy's trip for business, but I found out his work wife was booking the same hotel room with him, so I called the front desk pretending to be his assistant, found out they ordered a king suite for two, flew down without telling him, caught them kissing in the lobby, left divorce papers in the room with all the evidence, and blocked him before he could finish calling me 147 times that night. My husband Jake, 38M, and I, 35F, had been together for 15 years, married for 12. We met in college, did the whole fairy tale thing, small wedding, bought a house, got a dog, the works. I thought we were happy. Scratch that, I know we were happy, at least until about 2 years ago when everything started to change. Jake works in marketing for a mid-sized tech company. About 3 years ago, they hired this woman named Melissa, 28F, as a project coordinator. From day one, Jake couldn't stop talking about how brilliant and innovative she was. How she got his vision for campaigns. How they worked so well together as a team. Red flags? What red flags? I was apparently colorblind. At first, I was actually happy for him. Jake had been in a bit of a career rut, and having someone who appreciated his work seemed to reinvigorate him. He started staying later at the office, taking on more projects, actually enjoying his job again. As his wife, I was proud of him. But then the work-wife comments started. Oh, Melissa and I are like work spouses. He'd laugh when I'd ask why he was texting someone at 11 p.m. You know how it is, we just understand each other's work styles. Melissa thinks I should pitch this idea to the boss. Melissa found this great restaurant for the team lunch. Melissa. I started feeling like I was married to two people, except one of them I'd never actually met because Jake kept making excuses about why I couldn't come to work events. It's just going to be boring work talk, or you wouldn't enjoy it, it's all industry people, or my personal favorite, Melissa's pretty shy around new people, I don't want to make her uncomfortable. Making her comfortable. Not me. Her. So gradual that I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Jake started working out more, buying new clothes, using cologne I'd never smelled before. He said it was a midlife refresh and that he wanted to feel more confident at work. When I complimented him on a new shirt, he'd casually mention that Melissa said the color looked good on me. He became more secretive with his phone. Not obvious about it, but subtle. He'd place it face down during dinner, take it with him to the bathroom, charge it on his side of the bed instead of the kitchen counter like he'd done for years. When I'd ask who was texting, it was always just work stuff or the guys. Our intimacy started declining. Not just sex, but everything. The good morning kisses became pecks. The random hugs while I was cooking dinner stopped. He stopped asking about my day with any real interest. When I tried to tell him about something that happened at my job, I'm a graphic designer at a small firm, he'd nod along while clearly thinking about something else. But the worst part? He started comparing me to her. Not directly, never directly. Jake's too smart for that. But he'd make these little comments. Melissa's really into hiking. She did a 15-mile trail last weekend. I prefer indoor activities. Melissa makes her own kombucha. She's really health conscious. I enjoy wine and takeout. Melissa's learning Spanish. She wants to travel more. I've never been interested in learning languages. Every comment felt like a tiny paper cut. Alone, they were nothing. Together, they were slowly bleeding me dry. About 6 months ago, Jake started talking about this big conference in Miami. His company was sending several people, and it would be a great opportunity for team building and networking. He was excited about it in a way I hadn't seen him excited about anything in years. It's going to be great, he said, practically bouncing. Just the guys from the marketing team, hanging out, talking shop, maybe hitting some clubs. You know, bro time. Just the guys. He specifically said just the guys multiple times over the following weeks. How's the Miami trip planning going? I'd ask. Great. Can't wait for some guy time with the team. We never get to just hang out without work pressure. Who's going again? Just the guys from marketing. Mike, Dave, Chris, and me. Boys trip. Red flag number 847, but who's counting? As the trip got closer, Jake became more animated. He bought new swim trunks, new button-down shirts, even new underwear. I want to look professional, he said when I raised an eyebrow at the $200 worth of boxer briefs. The night before he left, we had sex for the first time in almost a month. It felt different though, like he was performing rather than connecting. Like he was checking a box before his big trip. I'll miss you, he said, kissing me goodbye at the door. Looking back, I think he actually believed that when he said it. Sunday morning? The trip was supposed to be Wednesday through Sunday, 4 days of team building and networking. He texted me when he landed, sent a picture of his hotel room, a standard double queen setup, and then nothing. Thursday, one text around lunch. Busy day. Talk tonight. Didn't call that night. Friday, conference is intense. Exhausted. Love you. No call. Saturday, nothing until I texted first. Having fun? How's the weather? His response, yeah, good. Tired. By Sunday, I was hurt and confused. This wasn't like Jake. Even when he traveled for work before, he'd call every night, send pictures of weird local food, complain about hotel pillows. Radio silence wasn't his style. Monday morning, I decided to surprise him with his favorite coffee and muffins when he got home. I wanted to reconnect, to shake off the weird distance that had been growing between us. He walked in the door looking different. Relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in months, but also guilty? Like a kid who'd been caught with his hand in the cookie jar but wasn't sure if he'd been seen. How was the boys' trip? I asked, handing him the coffee. Great. Yeah, really good bonding time with the guys. What did you guys do? Oh, typical conference stuff. Some sessions, team dinners, hung out at the hotel bar. Did you do anything fun? See any sights? He paused. Just for a second, but I caught it. We went to South Beach one afternoon. Nice to get some sun. That sounds fun. Did you take any pictures? Another pause. Nah, you know me. Always forget to take photos. Except Jake always took photos. Always. He had 10,000 pictures on his phone of the most random shit. But no pictures from a 4-day trip to Miami? But I'm not ashamed of it either. Something was off, and my gut was screaming at me to pay attention. While Jake was in the shower, I grabbed his phone. His passcode was still my birthday, small mercies, and I went straight to his photos. There were photos from Miami. Lots of them. Beach photos. Restaurant photos. Hotel pool photos. Sunset photos. And in at least half of them, reflected in windows or barely visible at the edge of the frame, was a woman with long blonde hair wearing a red bikini. My husband had lied to my face about not taking photos. But more importantly, there was definitely a woman on this guy's trip, and something told me it wasn't some random tourist. I scrolled through his texts, hands shaking. The group chat with the guys was pretty standard, complaints about conference food, jokes about the hotel AC, arguments about where to get dinner. But there was something weird about the timestamps. Most of the group messages were during conference hours. Evenings and mornings were mostly quiet. But there was another text thread that made my blood run cold. Jake had a message thread with someone listed as M. Work. The last message, sent Sunday evening, just said thanks for an amazing weekend. Can't wait to do it again soon. I clicked on the thread with shaking fingers. Jake, flight landed safely. Missing you already. M. Work, missing you too. This weekend was perfect. Jake, I meant what I said on the beach. M. Work, I know. I meant what I said too. Jake, we should probably cool it on the texting for a while. Don't want to raise suspicions. M. Work, I understand. But Jake. I'm falling for you. Jake, I'm already there. I think I stopped breathing. I scrolled up through weeks of messages. Flirting. Planning. Sexting. Actual fucking sexting between my husband and his work wife. Can't stop thinking about you in that black dress from the client dinner. I keep imagining what it would be like to wake up next to you. 2 more weeks until Miami. I've never wanted anything more. Booked us the suite. Can't wait to have you all to myself. Us. Sweet. All to himself. This wasn't a guy's trip. This was a romantic getaway with his mistress, and I was the idiot wife sitting at home making his favorite muffins. I sat on that bathroom floor for I don't know how long, reading through months of messages between my husband and Melissa. Because of course it was Melissa. Of course it was his brilliant, innovative, health-conscious work wife who understood him so much better than his actual wife. The affair had been going on for at least 4 months based on the messages. It started with late-night work conversations that turned personal, then flirty, then explicit. They'd been meeting for coffee, for lunch, even for drinks after work while I thought he was just working late. But Miami was going to be their first full weekend together. Their first chance to be a real couple, as Jake had put it in one message. I screenshotted everything. Every single message, every photo, every emoji. I backed them up to cloud storage, emailed them to myself, saved them in 3 different places. I was methodical about it, which surprised me. I thought I'd be crying or screaming, but instead, I felt cold. Calculating. Jake got out of the shower, and I was sitting on our bed, phone in my lap, acting normal. Feel better? I asked. Yeah, much better. Sorry I was so gross from travel. No problem. I'm just glad you're home safe. He kissed my forehead, and I had to fight every instinct not to recoil. This man who I'd loved for 15 years, who I'd built a life with, had just spent 4 days fucking another woman in Miami while telling me it was a guy's trip. I'm exhausted, he said. Think I'm going to go to bed early. Sure, honey. I'll be up in a bit. I waited until he was asleep, then I started planning. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in our kitchen with a cup of coffee and a notebook, planning the most important project of my life, how to catch my cheating husband and his mistress red-handed. Going through his phone had given me valuable intelligence. They were already planning their next trip, a work conference in San Diego in 2 weeks. Jake hadn't mentioned it to me yet, but based on their messages, he was going to play it off as another teen trip. But this time, I was going to be ready. First, I needed more evidence. Screenshots were good, but I needed something more concrete. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Sarah who came highly recommended and specialized in infidelity cases. She was expensive, but I'd been building my own savings account for years, thank God for small financial independencies, and this was worth every penny. Sarah's job was to follow Jake and document any meetings with Melissa outside of work. Within a week, she had photos of them having lunch at a restaurant across town, holding hands across the table. Photos of them in the parking garage of his office building, kissing next to her car. Photos of them entering and leaving a hotel downtown during what was supposed to be a late teen meeting. My husband wasn't just having an affair. He was parading it around town like some lovesick teenager, apparently confident that I was too stupid or trusting to notice. Second, I needed legal advice. I met with a divorce attorney, the best one in the city, according to the internet. Her name was Patricia Chen, and she was exactly the kind of woman I wanted in my corner, sharp, ruthless, and completely unimpressed by cheating husbands. You have an excellent case, she told me after reviewing Sarah's evidence. Adultery, emotional abandonment, financial deception. If you want to take him to the cleaners, we can do that. I want everything, I said. The house, the savings, his retirement fund, everything. He can have his work wife and his Miami trips, but he's not getting half of everything I've worked for. Patricia smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I like your style. Third, I needed to plan the confrontation. I could have just served him papers at home, but where was the poetry in that? No, if Jake wanted to play games, I'd give him a game he'd never forget. I started monitoring his messages more carefully, screenshotting every new conversation with Melissa. They were planning the San Diego trip with the giddiness of teenagers sneaking out past curfew. Can't wait to have you all to myself again, Jake wrote. I already booked the suite. Presidential level this time, we deserve the best, Melissa replied. 2 weeks feels like forever. I know, baby. But it'll be worth the wait. Baby. My husband was calling another woman baby. I booked myself a flight to San Diego. Jake announced the San Diego work trip exactly like I knew he would, 2 weeks before he was scheduled to leave. Hey babe, so I've got another conference coming up. San Diego this time. Oh really? When? Next month. Just a long weekend, Thursday through Sunday. Is it the same group going? The guys? He didn't even blink. Yeah, same team. Should be good for morale. The lies came so easily to him now. It was almost impressive how smoothly he could look me in the eye and lie about fucking another woman. That's great, honey. You seem to really enjoy the Miami trip. Yeah, it was good bonding time. Bonding time. With his dick. In Melissa's vagina. I waited a few days, then started my own preparations. I called Jake's hotel in San Diego, pretending to be his assistant. Hi, this is calling on behalf of Jake Morrison from Pinnacle Marketing. I need to confirm some details about his reservation for next week. Of course. Let me pull that up. Yes, I see Mr. Morrison has the presidential suite booked for Thursday through Sunday. King bed, ocean view, champagne package included. Is there anything else you need to confirm? King bed. Champagne package. For a guy's trip. Actually, I think there might be an error. Could you tell me how many guests are registered for the room? The reservation shows 2 guests, Mr. Morrison and Ms. Melissa Chen. There it was. Black and white confirmation that my husband and his mistress had booked a romantic suite together while he told me he was going on a work trip with the guys. That's perfect, thank you so much for confirming. I hung up and immediately called Patricia. They booked a suite together under both their names. Presidential level, king bed, champagne package. I have them dead to rights. Excellent. When do you want to serve the papers? I want to catch them in the act. Can you have everything ready by Friday? Consider it done. And may I say, your husband is an idiot for cheating on someone with your level of strategic thinking. I like Patricia more every day. Thursday morning, Jake kissed me goodbye like the loving husband he'd been pretending to be for months. I'll miss you, he said, holding me just a little too long. Overcompensating. Miss you too. Have fun with the guys. It'll probably be pretty boring. Don't expect too many texts, you know how these conference schedules are. I understand completely. He grabbed his suitcase, the expensive one I'd bought him for our anniversary 2 years ago, and headed for the door. Jake? He turned back. Yeah? I love you. It wasn't a lie, not entirely. I did love him, or at least I loved who I thought he was. But I also wanted to see if he'd feel guilty about it. If there was any part of the man I'd married still in there. His face softened. I love you too, babe. More than you know. And then he left to spend a romantic weekend with another woman. I waited exactly 30 minutes after he left, then grabbed my own suitcase and headed to the airport. The flight to San Diego was the longest 3 hours of my life. I kept imagining what I was going to find, how I was going to handle it, what I was going to say. I'd practiced different scenarios in my head, but honestly, I had no idea how I'd react when I actually saw them together. Patricia had messengered the divorce papers to my hotel that morning. Everything was ready. I checked into my hotel around 2 p.m., a different hotel from theirs, because I'm not completely crazy. I just needed somewhere to get ready and plan my approach. The original plan was to wait until Friday evening, catch them at dinner or in the hotel bar, make a scene, serve the papers, and leave. Clean and dramatic. But as I was sitting in my hotel room, staring at my phone, I realized I couldn't wait. The not knowing was killing me. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I took an Uber to their hotel. The hotel Jake and Melissa had chosen was gorgeous, one of those luxury beachfront places where rooms start at $500 a night. Way nicer than anywhere Jake and I had ever stayed together, which was another knife twist I didn't need but got anyway. I sat in the lobby for about 20 minutes, trying to work up the courage to go upstairs. What if they weren't in the room? What if they saw me first? What if I chickened out? But then the elevator doors opened, and there they were. Jake and Melissa, walking out hand in hand, dressed for dinner. She was wearing a red dress that hugged her body perfectly, and Jake was in the blue button-down shirt I'd complimented him on just last week. They were both glowing with that post-sex, pre-dinner happiness of people on vacation. They looked like a couple. A real, genuine, happy couple. And they looked nothing like Jake and I had looked in years. I watched them walk across the lobby, Jake's hand on the small of her back, Melissa laughing at something he whispered in her ear. They stopped at the concierge desk to ask about restaurant recommendations, and Jake pulled her closer to him while they waited. It was such a small gesture, so automatic and natural, and it broke something inside me that I didn't even know was still intact. This wasn't just sex. This wasn't just an affair. Jake was in love with her. They headed toward the hotel restaurant, and I followed at a distance. They were seated at a table by the window, ocean view, candlelit and romantic. I took a seat at the bar where I could watch them without being seen. I ordered a whiskey and watched my husband romance another woman. He was animated in a way I hadn't seen in years, gesturing and laughing, completely absorbed in whatever she was saying. She was leaning across the table, playing with her hair, giving him every signal that she was as into this as he was. At one point, Jake reached across the table and took her hand. She said something that made him laugh, and he brought her hand to his lips and kissed it. When was the last time Jake had kissed my hand? When was the last time he'd looked at me the way he was looking at her right now? I finished my whiskey and ordered another. They ordered champagne. They fed each other bites of dessert. They took selfies with the sunset behind them. They were creating memories and moments while I sat 20 feet away, drinking alone at a hotel bar, watching my marriage crumble in real time. After dinner, they walked back through the lobby toward the elevators. Jake had his arm around her waist, and she had her head on his shoulder. They looked like they were floating. I waited until the elevator doors closed, then I made my move. I rode the elevator up to the presidential suite level, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might throw up. The divorce papers were in my purse, along with printed copies of all their text messages, the photos Sarah had taken, and a USB drive with everything backed up. I stood outside their room for a solid 5 minutes, listening. I could hear them talking and laughing inside, then music started playing. Something slow and romantic. I knocked on the door. The talking stopped. Footsteps approached the door. "Room service?" Jake's voice called out. "We didn't order room service," I heard Melissa say in the background. More footsteps. The peephole darkened as someone looked through it. Then silence. Then, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. What? What is it? Melissa's voice was closer now. It's my wife. I knocked again, louder this time. Jake? I know you're in there. Open the door. More silence. Frantic whispering I couldn't make out. Jake, if you don't open this door, I'm going to start screaming in the hallway about how my husband is fucking his coworker in a hotel room while I'm at home thinking he's at a work conference. I wonder what your other colleagues would think about that? The lock clicked. The door opened, and there was my husband, still in his dinner clothes, looking like he'd seen a ghost. Behind him, I could see Melissa sitting on the edge of the king bed, her red dress wrinkled, her lipstick smudged. Hi, honey, I said. How's the guy's trip going? Jake opened and closed his mouth like a fish for a solid 10 seconds. I'd never seen him speechless before. It was almost satisfying enough to make up for everything else. Almost. How are you? What are you doing here? Funny story about that, I said, pushing past him into the room. I was sitting at home last night, missing my husband who was supposed to be at a work conference with his male colleagues, when I decided to call the hotel to see if I could send you flowers as a surprise. Melissa stood up from the bed, smoothing down her dress. She was prettier in person than she was in the photos Jake had shown me over the years. Younger. Blonder. Everything I wasn't. Imagine my confusion, I continued, when the front desk told me that the reservation was for 2 people, Jake Morrison and Melissa Chen. Presidential suite. King bed. Champagne package. I pulled out my phone and started reading from their text messages. Can't wait to have you all to myself again. I already booked the suite. Presidential level this time, we deserve the best. 2 weeks feels like forever. I know, baby. But it'll be worth the wait. Each quote hit Jake like a physical blow. He actually winced. Stop, he said quietly. Please. Stop what? Reading your love letters to your work wife while you told me you were going on a boys' trip? Or stop embarrassing you in front of your girlfriend? She's not my. He stopped himself. She's not your what, Jake? Your girlfriend? Because these messages suggest otherwise. Or were you going to say she's not your wife? Because you're absolutely right about that. I'm your wife. Remember me? Melissa finally found her voice. Look, I think maybe I should go. Oh no, I said, turning to face her. You're not going anywhere. You're half of this equation, sweetheart. You knew he was married. You knew I existed. You chose to fuck my husband anyway, so you get to be here for the consequences. Her face went white, but to her credit, she didn't try to run. I turned back to Jake. 12 years. 15 if you count dating. Half my fucking life, Jake. I've been with you for half my life, and this is what I get? It's not what you think, he started. It's not what I think? Jake, I have photos of you 2 kissing in parking garages. I have text messages where you talk about leaving me. I have hotel receipts for your romantic getaways. I have GPS data showing that your late work meetings were actually at hotels across town. What exactly is it not? He had nothing. No explanation, no excuse, no defense. I want a divorce, I said. Don't. Can we please talk about this? Not here, not like this. When, Jake? When exactly would have been a good time to talk about this? When you were planning your Miami trip with her. When you were buying new underwear to impress your mistress. When you were lying to my face every single day for months. I reached into my purse and pulled out the manila envelope. You're being served, I said, holding it out to him. He didn't take it, so I dropped it on the floor at his feet. Everything's in there. The petition for divorce, the evidence of adultery, the financial records, all of it. My lawyer says I have an excellent case for an uncontested divorce with cause. You can keep your work wife and your romantic trips, but I'm keeping everything else. You can't. He started. I can't what? Leave you? Watch this. I turned toward the door, then stopped. Oh, and Jake? I'm taking the dog. I didn't go back to my hotel. Instead, I went straight to the airport and got on the first red-eye flight home. I spent the entire 5-hour flight crying, drinking tiny bottles of wine, and fielding text messages from Jake that I didn't answer. By the time I landed, I had 23 missed calls and 47 text messages. Please call me back. We need to talk. This isn't how I wanted you to find out. I never meant for this to happen. I love you. I still love you. Please don't do this. Can we work it out? I'll end it with her. I'll do whatever you want. Please answer your phone. I'm coming home. I blocked his number. When I got home, our dog Murphy greeted me at the door like I'd been gone for years instead of 2 days. I buried my face in his fur and cried harder than I'd cried since my father died. My phone rang. Jake, calling from Melissa's phone. I blocked that number too. Then my work phone rang. Jake again. I turned it off. An hour later, someone was pounding on my front door. I knew it was Jake, but I didn't answer. He stood out there for 20 minutes, alternately knocking and pleading through the door, before finally giving up. I changed the locks the next morning. The divorce proceedings were exactly as brutal as I'd hoped they would be. Jake tried to play the victim at first, claiming that I'd ambushed him and that we should try counseling instead of lawyers. But Patricia was ruthless. She laid out every piece of evidence we had, the text messages, the photos, the hotel receipts, the GPS data, everything. Jake's lawyer took one look at the file and recommended he accept whatever terms I offered. Your client was caught red-handed in an extramarital affair, Patricia told him during our first mediation session. He lied to his wife repeatedly, used marital funds to finance his relationship with his mistress, and showed a pattern of deception and betrayal that goes back months. My client is willing to settle this quickly and quietly, but if you want to drag this out, we're prepared to make this very public and very expensive. Jake looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. In the end, I got everything I asked for. The house, the savings account, his 401k, the car, the dog, and spousal support for 3 years. Jake got to keep his work wife and whatever was left of his dignity. The whole process took 4 months. 4 months of Jake trying to contact me through mutual friends, showing up at my work, sending flowers with apology notes, and generally making a nuisance of himself while I rebuilt my life. But the most satisfying part? About 6 weeks after I served him, Jake and Melissa broke up. Apparently, the thrill of the affair was a lot more exciting than the reality of being together while going through a messy divorce. Who could have seen that coming? Jake moved in with his brother and started dating some 25-year-old from Tinder within 2 months of our divorce being finalized. Melissa transferred to a different department at their company to avoid the gossip. And me? I'm doing better than I ever thought possible. It's been 8 months since I caught Jake and Melissa in San Diego, and honestly, I'm happier than I've been in years. The house feels different without Jake's energy in it, lighter, somehow. I redecorated the bedroom, bought new furniture, and turned his home office into an art studio. I'd forgotten how much I loved painting until I had the space and mental energy for it again. Murphy loves having me all to himself. We go on long walks every morning, and he sleeps on Jake's side of the bed now. Sometimes I think he understands what happened and is trying to make up for it by being extra loving. Work has been great too. Without the constant stress and distraction of trying to figure out why my husband was pulling away from me, I've been more creative and productive than I've been in years. I got promoted to senior designer last month and a raise that's helping me build my savings back up. Dating feels weird to think about, but I'm not opposed to it eventually. A few friends have tried to set me up, but I'm not ready yet. I'm still figuring out who I am as a single person after 15 years of being half of a couple. But the best part? I sleep so much better now. I didn't realize how much energy I was spending on worry and doubt and trying to convince myself that everything was fine when it obviously wasn't. Now I know the truth, as horrible as it was, and truth is always better than uncertainty. About 3 months ago, Jake started trying to reach out again. Not to get back together, even he's not that delusional, but to apologize properly and explain his side. He sent a long email that I deleted without reading. He left a voicemail that I deleted without listening to. He sent a letter to my work address that I threw away unopened. Finally, he showed up at my favorite coffee shop on a Saturday morning. I was reading and enjoying my weekend when I looked up and saw him standing next to my table. "Please don't leave," he said before I could stand up. "I just need 5 minutes." I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since that hotel room. He looked older, tired, like he'd lost weight. His hair needed cutting, and his clothes didn't fit quite right. "You have 5 minutes," I said. He sat down across from me, and for a moment, neither of us said anything. "I fucked up," he finally said. "I know that's not enough, and I know it doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know that I know how badly I fucked up." I didn't respond. "It wasn't about you," he continued. "You didn't do anything wrong. You were a good wife, a great wife, and I threw it all away for. I don't even know what for." "For Melissa," I said. "For the idea of Melissa. For the fantasy of being someone different, someone more exciting. But it wasn't real. None of it was real. It was real enough to lie to me for months. I know, and I hate.